We are talking about a wisdom that comes from Japan, both ancient and modern, called Nagomi. Written as Mami or Nagomi in Japanese. This term is quite popular in Japan, used for restaurant names, brand names, and even for naming trains dedicated to the emperor. However, there is currently no Wikipedia page for it, and there is no standard Chinese translation. After some research, the best interpretation seems to be achieving a harmonious understanding. Every civilization has something worth learning from, just as every living being is a success story in the history of evolution. Japan, as a developed country, has a unique ecological niche that has nurtured a distinctive way of thinking. Japan's relationship between businesses and society, how Japan deals with foreign cultures, the longevity of the Japanese people, as well as aspects like anime, technology, and commerce, are all worth exploring. As China undergoes reform and opening up, it probably learns more from Japan than from the West. Especially now, as China faces complex challenges such as crossing the middle-income trap and an aging society, it might be worthwhile to look at Japan's solutions. Nagomi is a particularly suitable approach for solving complex problems. Nagomi might be the highest wisdom in Japanese culture, just as Dongyong is in Chinese culture. There is a Japanese neuroscientist named Kenichiro Mogi who, in January 2023, released a new book titled The Way of Nagomi, the Japanese philosophy of finding balance and peace in everything you do, specifically introducing Nagomi to readers outside Japan. Our column has a saying, 强内和性相近，弱内和习相远, meaning that good things, regardless of their origin, are universally applicable. Nagomi and Zhongyong are both methods for dealing with various contradictions. We often quote a saying by F. Scott Fitzgerald. The test of a first-rate intelligence is the ability to hold two opposed ideas in the mind at the same time and still retain the ability to function. How can one bring together contradictory, or even opposing things? The Nagomi approach is to achieve balance in conflicting things to realize harmony and sustainable development. For example, matcha ice cream is a simple illustration. Ice cream is very Western, and matcha is very Japanese, creating a kind of contradiction. However, matcha ice cream combines them without changing either. They continue to be themselves, but the combination becomes a valid entity. Another example is curry rice with fried pork cutlet. Fried cutlet is French, curry is from India, and rice is very Japanese. By combining these three directly, you get a particularly popular Japanese dish. There is a saying in Japanese restaurants called Wayochu, which combines Japanese, wa, Western, yo, and Chinese, chu, cuisines. This is Nagomi. So, what is the difference between Nagomi and Zhongyong? From my understanding, when faced with a pile of contradictory things, how should you deal with them? Mediocrity is to go with the flow. I'll do what most people do. It's the safest way. Parochialism is to speak the language of the powerful. I'll do what the highest authorities do. Frenzy is to insist on asking which of these things is the best. I firmly choose the best without wavering. Zhongyong is to accurately solve the current situation. I have no bias towards matcha or ice cream. I'll see which is more suitable for the current situation. Nagomi is to leave all these things and arrange them. Maybe they will harmonize. Frenzy is a bit like the American way of thinking, seeking an indicator to optimize to the maximum. Zhongyong is the Chinese way of thinking, avoiding simplifying problems and analyzing them based on the specific situation. Nagomi is the Japanese way of thinking. The reason Japan has Nagomi is closely related to its international status and history. Japan is an island country, small but independent, always influenced by external cultures. First China, then Korea, and more recently the West. However, Japan has retained its self-awareness. With so many foreign things, you can't ignore them, and full localization is challenging. So, Japan allows them to exist in its own way. Take dumplings, for example. Chinese people eat dumplings dipped in vinegar after boiling them, not with rice. Japanese dumplings look similar to Chinese ones but are generally deep-fried and eaten with rice. In the eyes of Chinese people, dumplings and rice are equal, parallel foods that shouldn't appear together. But in Japan, everything goes with rice. Or sake. All main dishes, like pickles, seaweed, grilled fish, and meat dishes, are paired with rice. All side dishes, like sashimi, tofu, and grilled meat, are paired with sake. Kenichiro Mogi says the key is that these dishes, if eaten individually, may not taste as good. They become delicious only when paired with rice and sake. Compare this with Western cuisine. In Western meals, each dish is served one at a time, and each dish is the sole focus at that moment. The Japanese way is to treat all dishes as supporting roles, all complementing rice and sake. This is Nagomi. And you should know that sake is also made from rice. Philosophically, both rice and sake are neutral foods, without distinct characteristics or self-assertion. They provide a platform. Each side dish has its personality and claims, but they must play on this platform. So, what's the use? The use is why the imperial family can rule Japan for hundreds or even thousands of years without falling. The emperor is like rice and sake, rarely expressing political views, low-key but not flamboyant. The result is that no matter who holds power, the emperor remains the emperor. The emperor participates annually in rice planting ceremonies, and offerings to Shinto gods include rice and sake. Being low-key, reserved, and unremarkable is the highest level, the ideal self that Japan's elites seek. High-end Japanese cuisine not only incorporates a variety of ingredients but also emphasizes preserving their individual characteristics. Instead of adding strong sauces, a chef with Nagomi spirit will provide you with the freshest seasonal ingredients, combining them for the most suitable pairing, and you just need to enjoy. This is different from, for example, whether it's lobster or carp, stir-frying with some green onions and soy sauce immediately turns it into Chinese cuisine. If we make a comparison, we might say that American culture is an efficiency culture. You can freely experiment and innovate, but in the end, I'll use whatever is most efficient. Chinese culture is a dominant culture. Whatever comes to me, I'll turn it into something Chinese. On the other hand, Japan's Nagomi is a reconciling culture. I don't ask whether this thing is from the West, China, or local. I won't make too many modifications. Just bring it here and pair it with rice and sake. Of course, you could say this is just an analogy. Can dietary habits really reflect culture? However, Kenichiro Mogi has found Nagomi in various aspects of Japan, one by one. The core idea is to let seemingly contradictory things coexist harmoniously. Let's talk about the relationship between individuals and society. Japanese society is not easy for outsiders to integrate into and adapt to. Even Japanese people may find it oppressive. This is because Japanese society values rules tremendously. This may be due to the high population density in Japan. Everyone is squeezed together, and you always have to assume someone is watching you, so you cannot cause trouble. While we Chinese also value collectivism, we might still be more free than the Japanese. For example, Kenichiro Mogi mentioned that Japanese schools not only forbid students from dyeing their hair different colors but also require students with naturally non-black hair to dye it black. I've heard a Japanese person say that sometimes, teachers in Japanese elementary and middle schools may collectively bully a student who stands out. If you make a mistake, it's even more uncomfortable. Some Japanese people are forced to the point of suicide. But people are people, and for a person to be mentally and physically healthy, they need self-acceptance and freedom. So, how to handle the contradiction of adhering to societal rules while needing personal freedom? You need Nagomi. A commonly used method is anonymity. Japanese people are very rule-abiding in public, but you can do free things anonymously. Not to mention that nowadays, Japanese people love to express various opinions anonymously on the internet. Even before the internet, Japanese artists, including high-ranking officials below the emperor, like to create poetry anonymously. Japan fully accepts works signed as author unknown. Even in the current anime industry in Japan, many people publish works anonymously. Some people use Yamaha music synthesizers to compose songs, and AI sings. You can stay completely behind the scenes, write lyrics and compose, and still become popular. If you want to live happily in Japan, you might need two identities. One for public and one for private. Now, let's talk about the relationship between individuals. Japan especially emphasizes interpersonal relationships. Your identity is primarily defined by your interpersonal relationships. So, while maintaining good relationships between people, you also need to have your own personality. This is a contradiction. Here, Nagomi can be debated, and different opinions can be retained, but relationships cannot be severed. It's like spouses can argue but cannot divorce. Japanese people always try to be polite in their dealings, always maintaining the best possible courtesy, especially avoiding making enemies. Japan has a traditional performing art called rakugo, similar to Chinese stand-up comedy or storytelling. An actor performs a story, playing different roles, like being both the husband and the wife. Rakugo stories have many scenes of character conflicts, extensive dialogues, but if you carefully observe, the arguments are very mild. And there will be a happy ending. Confucius said, "The superior man is in harmony, but does not follow the crowd." Nagomi in Japan might be harmony in difference. There is also Nagomi in health. Japan is the longest-lived country globally, but if you notice, Japanese people don't have many specific health practices like eat fewer carbs or supplement vitamins. Eating rice every day, not avoiding meat or vegetables, results in longevity and maintaining good physique. How is this possible? The spirit of Nagomi here lies in diversity. Health is a comprehensive issue. Focusing on diet or exercising every day is not enough. Kenichiro Mogi introduces various health methods that Japanese people cherish, including eating until 80% full, diverse food sources, preferring seasonal and fresh foods, waking up early, doing miscellaneous activities, going to the forest to feel the sunshine, wind rustling leaves, and birdsong, merging with nature, bathing in hot springs, absorbing minerals. And then you need to balance all of these. In summary, Nagomi is about not pursuing a silver bullet to solve all problems but seeking to put chaotic things together, harmonize them, and provide a comprehensive solution. Nagomi can help us deal with seemingly contradictory things in a complex world. Let's discuss the application of Nagomi in other aspects in the next part.
If you feel there is value in this, please like, subscribe to this channel, and leave your thoughts or suggestions in the comments section. Let's grow together and read more good books.